Now we're going live now. Welcome to the Own Your Unforgettable Story podcast. I am Steve Garvin, the story architect, and I am joined by my lovely co-host, Yael Johnson, who has been busy as a bee lately.
To say the least.
So tell me, Yael, what has been going on since we last recorded?
Well, the last time that we recorded, we talked about being the author of your story. That was, and I remember sitting in our apartment in Georgia, in Lawrenceville, Georgia, with that, recording that podcast. Since then, so now, I own a different RV. I sold the other RV. I bought a new RV, which I got titled and plated today. I'm very excited about that. Since then, I am no longer, my husband and I are no longer managing a senior living community. We are now caretakers at a clothing optional resort in South Carolina, RV resort in South Carolina. We are living in a huge 2-bedroom house, which we are looking forward to moving out of and into our new RV. What else? Anyway, so that's the story. That's my life these days. How about you?
Well, I'm in the same house as I was when we last met.
Okay.
Doing the same thing, and I'm driving the same vehicle. But I've also been a little bit busy, just
probably at a more even keel pace.
Sometimes feels like that, sometimes not.
Okay.
I'm trying to get this summit off the ground, the Senior Heart Song Summit that is taking place in a little bit over a month from when we are speaking right now.
Okay.
I'm doing a daily Facebook Live. I'm trying to, I'm also doing a weekly Stories of Gold podcast. I'm trying to figure out the process of turning transcripts into blog posts. So I'm busy and wondering how I'm going to get it all done, and realizing that I don't have to get it all done right now, that I don't have to.
That's the beautiful part.
That I can be, maybe being busy as a bee also means relaxing somewhat, that I don't, it takes the time that it takes, and it doesn't have to be something that happens instantaneous.
When it starts becoming stressful, go do something else. And you'll get back to it later on, but for right now, go do something else. So Absolutely. That's kind of, because at the same time, I've also been making pretty good progress in my marketing and strategies, and I've been meeting a lot of new people as far as building my coaching practice and getting things organized business wise. So I've also been working on that at the same time. But that's something that I've worked on so hard for so long, and it just got so frustrating. So I stepped away from it. And in the meantime, I got all this other stuff done. I am so when I'm avoiding something, I am so productive. I'm super productive when I'm avoiding something. That's when I get the most done.
How ironic.
So anyway, but that stuff has been coming together for me also. I've met a lot of great people very recently. People that happen to be, I met a woman who is a book reviewer. And she and I have been talking, and I want to pick her brain, and I want to, I've got so many people, so much to do, so much life to live.
Absolutely.
So,
and it's interesting that you bring up books too. One, as we narrow down on who are focusing our message to,
right,
to being more authors and speakers, and possibly playing with the word or the phrase word warriors. that's another thing that I've been working on is I wrapped up the 9th draft of
Oh, I'm there too. So I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing right with you because I'm right there too.
so I last night I picked up the 9th draft of this memoir from Office Depot, and it was just it will go through another draft before it actually gets published. But I'm actually to the phase where I'm no longer feel like I'm spinning my wheels writing, and I'm actually taking what I have written. And this is
that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
I just organize the stuff that because I've written so much. And if I could just organize like and just put it all together, it's already written. I've probably written 15 books by now. You too.
Yes.
I'm sure you too. So if we could just figure out how to put all that together.
And that's what I'm in the process of doing is I went through what I had written because I have pulled them into one document numerous times now. This last time was the first time that I had pulled it into one document, printed it out, and read the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And while I'm reading it, I'm highlighting key parts and also in a notebook, just writing down the key ideas. And this week I've been just typing those key ideas into another document so I can organize those things and get it done.
Okay.
But so
what's your end result? I mean, this isn't your memoirs thing, is it?
It is my memoir. This one is this particular book is my memoir.
Okay.
And one of the kind of the funny thing is that in starting this, in completing that draft and saying, okay, I'm no longer going to be writing from scratch the memoir. I'm going to take what I have written, I'm going to organize it, flesh it out where I need to, trim off the stuff that I need to. One of the ways that showed up for me was that I realized that I was writing a new book, that I was no longer writing the memoir.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I want to do is be writing new content every day, writing a new book every day.
Okay. I would like to take a moment right here, right now, to mention, since we are recording and sharing this conversation publicly, I would like to let people know why we're doing that. So the topic of today's conversation in our series of, what is it, 4, and there's the 4 characters. What is it? You are the
4 key roles in the Playful Prophets Theater.
Okay. So the 4 key roles, this is number 2 of 4.
Yes.
So the first one we talked about last time, and that was being the author of your own story.
Which I had called the playwright.
The playwright, right. Sorry. You get the point.
Yes.
You get the idea. Okay, so the playwright. Last time we talked about being the playwright. Today we were talking about being the
performer.
Okay, I was thinking character, but that doesn't start with P, so that's not it. Okay. So the performer in your own story. So last time you were the author, today you are the performer.
Right.
So this whole story that you've written, this is all a world that we've created. Like, I think for me, that's the fun part of everything I'm doing these days. That's honestly, that is the exciting part for me, is that I'm getting a lot done. But I'm loving the journey also, but part of it, and there's some frustrating times and challenging times and stuff like that. But all the while I'm loving the journey because, I did this. I created this.
Yes.
You know, we sold the other RV on the day we moved. We were all set up, ready to move. And the guy said, well, I'm not going to get there in the morning. So could I come take a look at it? And I said, okay, fine. We'll wait. So we waited for him to come take a look at it. And he came and looked at it and he brought money and he bought the RV. We
Mm,
sold the other RV on the day we moved. So it's just, it just all happened at once. And it's when it rains, it pours kind of thing.
right.
So it's one of those things. Can this day get any better? Hey, look, it did. So
Well,
the reason we're talking about this, I know I'll shut up in a second.
no, you're fine.
So the reason we're talking about this is so that people can hear our adventures in our own journeys. And my invitation to our audience would be, what kind of adventures are you living these days?
Mm. Yeah.
Are you stressing yourself out? Are you living an adventure? Are you loving any part of it? Are you loving all of it? Who are you sharing it with?
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that's really cool. And it aligns with what I was thinking about early this morning when I was awake and was just thinking at 3 o'clock this morning.
Oh, I was probably doing the same thing.
And what I was thinking about was just how our voice, whether our voice is like we're using right now, or we also call our voice when we're writing, we have the voice of the playwright, of the author, that we can develop a distinct voice. But that voice is like a gateway between what's inside of us, all the stuff that precedes where we're at right now, all the things that we've envisioned about what's possible. Our voice makes manifest both through sound and through word, the world that we want to be creating, which is something that we actually talked about a little bit in the last episode that we recorded, about the idea that the world I see begins with me, that I can choose, I can create the world I want to see by using the language that creates that world.
Exactly. So words have, it seems to be it's a common thread in a lot of angles in my life right now. It just keeps popping up as far as the words people use, the language, how powerful words can be. Stuff like that just keeps popping up lately. So of course I've been writing about it too. So which just adds more to it. But the language that we use it's just a way of we're all co-creating. We all have our own. I live in my own universe. This is my world. You are sharing a piece of my world.
Right.
And I'm so grateful to have you here along my journey, and everyone that's listening, they're getting a piece of my world.
Right.
So I have no idea what role I represent in their world. I might just be background noise as far as they're concerned. Or I might actually be, they might actually like really be listening and be paying attention. I have no idea.
Right.
So, I mean, of course I hope for the latter. But I don't know. So in the meantime, they make me feel good just by the fact that they're listening to me. So thank you.
Absolutely. That reminds me of a couple of things. One, that we need an audience in order for us to have a theater, so to speak. That it's not just us creating this world. It's not.
That's a good point.
And what I mean by that is more than just, there's more than just the vanity of having people listening to us.
Yeah.
Is that in another interview on a different show, we talked about, my guest and I on the Stories of Gold podcast talked about how we inform each other, that we learn from each other. When we're creating and we create collectively,
Right.
so like when artists get together and share a studio space, they might not be working directly with one another on whatever they're creating,
Right.
but because of the relationship that they have with the other artists in the room,
Right.
it informs what they're putting on the canvas or on the potter's wheel. So as we create our own stories, as we tell our own stories,
Right.
and look at the world that we want to be creating, is that by choosing and bringing in the people that help us form that world, we're co-creating the world that we're creating. And
Exactly.
and your universe and my universe are interconnected, that
Yes.
we have like gravitational pulls upon each other.
Yeah.
It's kind of just like in the solar system, how even if Pluto is no longer considered a planet, it still has a gravitational pull on the other
Yes.
bodies in the solar system.
Yeah, that's cool. It's cool that it sounds like you envision it in the same way I do. So anyway, so I live in my own universe. You live in your own universe. And while you, again, we'll go back to the whole perspective thing. You and I can be looking at the same thing, the same exact thing, the same event, the same everything. We can be looking at whatever, but we each have a different perspective. We're looking at it from different angles. We're looking at the exact same thing, same sequence of events, same shiny whatever, but we each have our own experiences. We have our own opinions and ideas and everything that that affect our whatever. So we have our own perspective. So we are co-creating the universe. The universe that is.
I just looked up the etymology of universe just because that's what I do.
It's a good question. Okay.
And una, of course,
is one.
Right. And verse is actually, it comes from the Proto-Indo-European root word, which means to turn or bend. So we're kind of spinning, the planets are spinning, and the universe is spinning, all that. But there is the idea of one planet, one universe, one whatever. So even though we are
interesting
in this great expanse, that we impact and shape one another.
What's the etymology of the word verse?
Well, I imagine there's actually probably, I would have to look that up, which of course is what I'm doing.
I know. I was counting on that.
To our audience, you're witnessing our geekiness right now.
This is how you fall down a rabbit hole.
It actually is from the same root. So to turn or to bend. So you turn
I'm thinking the word, I'm thinking the word verse as in the words.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
So to turn or bend. So that speaks to me as far as the influence that words create. How words can influence. That's what that says to me.
Right. So
interesting.
A verse in a song, a verse in poetry, a verse in the universe, or the multiverse, if we
think about bent, that I wouldn't have thought of that.
That wasn't what I was thinking about either. But
so anyway,
that's the thing that's fascinating about words. Is that we think we know what they mean, and then we dig a little bit deeper and find they mean something else.
So that's been a thing. I've been really conscientious of words lately, like more so than usual. I've actually written this a few times. To me, I've written this a few times. I don't think I've ever actually spoken about it though. to me, there are certain words or certain phrases that we use that are just all it is shorthand for other things.
Mhm.
I think we talked about it a little bit. Like the words "I'm sorry" to
Mm.
me is shorthand for I know that I did hurt you or somehow inconvenienced you or whatever, and I'm going to do my best to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Mm.
That's what "I'm sorry" means to me. Um, I I don't apologize easily. I don't apologize easily. So if I apologize to you for anything, take that with a grain of salt.
Although what you were telling me earlier was that you used to, that's a flip from
I
what.
did. I did. That's a good point. I used to apologize for things constantly. But it occurred to me that by apologizing constantly, I was basically telling everybody that everything is my fault. So everything that's ever gone wrong, it's my fault. Sorry about that.
Right. Your life's a
Well, that's not the
shambles. I'm sorry, that's my fault.
right. So I was taking an awful lot of credit for things that really were none of my own business.
Well, I find it interesting how different languages say things, say the same general idea
Mhm.
in a different way. In German, instead of saying I'm sorry, you say das tut mir leid, which means that does me sorrow or that brings me sorrow.
Okay.
So it's not taking responsibility for your sorrow, at least not in the way that
Mhm.
I interpret it. It's
Okay.
saying that I am feeling sorrowful because whatever happened to you. So like
Okay.
last night, last night, my daughters were outside running around with the cat, trying to get the cat back inside. And my youngest daughter slipped down the hill and landed on her wrist
Mm.
and sprained her wrist, such that we had to
Ouch.
literally carry her back inside and
Oh.
wrap her up and get her
Aw.
ibuprofen and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, I'm thinking in situations like that, I'm going to say, I'm sorry that happened. I'm not taking responsibility. I wasn't even
Right.
near
Oh,
where
right.
that.
Right. Oh, no, you will often hear me say, I do often say, I'm sorry you're going through that. I'm sorry to hear what you're going through. And I do
Sure.
genuinely mean that. Um, and I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear what you're going through. And I'm still saying that I'm acknowledging where you are.
Hmm.
Um, and I still stand by the fact I'm going to do my best to not have that happen very often because I don't want to be the one that you go to with all your bad news ever. Because I've been that person before too.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm very excited to be the person that people love giving sharing their good news with me. So I
Hmm.
had somebody reach out to me, somebody who I barely ever talked to. She reached out to me and she said that she and her husband had just broken ground on their new house.
Hmm.
They were building a house. They're a young couple, got a bunch of kids, beautiful family. They're like in their early 30s or something. Um, but anyway, she hadn't told her family. She hadn't told anybody yet.
Hmm.
Um, and I asked her. I said, "So why'd you tell me?" And she said, I wanted to tell somebody." She said, I don't want to. I only want to tell somebody who I know will be genuinely happy for me."
Hmm.
So she didn't have to worry about any snide remarks about, "Oh my God, that's a lot of, that's a huge project you're taking on. And what about, you've got all these kids and that's going to keep you busy. And how are you going to, she didn't want to hear all that crap." And,
Right.
whoever else depending on who she talks to, you know, there's a chance that she's going to hear that. So she told me about it and kind of felt the waters first, felt out the
Awesome.
waters. So we talked about that a little bit and that was kind of cool.
That's
So it's
awesome.
nice to be that person.
So you're the harbinger of good news.
Yep. There is a bee or something right there.
Well,
And
we are being busy as a bee, so we've got our
yeah,
mascot.
well, that's wonderful. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to go in the house and close this door. Where is he? Oh, great. Now I don't know where he is. Nope. I don't know. All right. I don't see him. He's gone. Sorry.
You're safe.
Oh, no, I see him, but he's staying over there.
He followed you in, huh?
Yeah, I don't know how he's going to get out. That's the problem.
So
Sorry.
back to being busy as a bee. Let the bee be busy as it is. We have a tendency, or maybe you have a tendency to bring animals into our conversation.
It's true. Yeah, you haven't brought a lot of animals in. So
maybe I'll have to do something about that. But
all right. So
next time I'll bring a rhinoceros or an elephant or something.
hold on a second. I'm gonna put you down for a second.
So enjoy this intermission while Yael deals with the bee that entered into our conversation. And we will be right back.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that. That bee had absolutely no way of getting out. So there was no chance that he was going to go away.
Mm.
So
So
all right.
So our audience can come back from getting their glass of water or whatever they're doing, come back and be engaged in the conversation about being busy as a bee.
Living the life, right?
Right. So with all of this makes me think about how we can be intentional about the things that we let into our lives and the things that we let out of our lives.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
So we can be intentional about how we're being busy. Are we being busy in a good and productive way, in a way that aligns with our values and the story that we want to be creating? Or are we caught up in the cycle of our story and just running around? And I am not meaning to.
From bees. So, on today's topic, on being the character, or on being the performer. The performer.
We're getting aerial acrobatics from the bees. And other kinds of acrobatics from Yael.
But damn it, this podcast is going to happen.
Right. We're going to perform. The show must go on.
I think that's the bottom line. That's what, all right. Well, we can take that away from this. This damn podcast is going to happen today.
We're going to make it happen.
So,
and it doesn't have to be this tragedy that unexpected things happen, that
exactly
unexpected things come into our lives and change the story a little bit from what we expected, but we can just let go.
So I did think about it's probably a topic for another time, but basically everything I spend every given moment preparing for everything I'm doing at any given moment is in preparation to make a better later. There's a bee out there. That's why I'm in here. I don't know, but it had no way to get out, so I got out. Sorry. Anyway. Sorry. Anyway, I'm just telling him why I'm standing in the kitchen.
Sure.
So as I'm, for example, if I'm getting ready to, hit the road to go somewhere, I thought about this one day as I was, I almost forgot my water and I had to get my grab my purse and grab a bottle of water and don't forget my keys and don't forget my sunglasses and stuff like that. And it occurred to me that I could be stressing about, giving myself a hard time about, do I really want to run back in the house? Because I really didn't want to, because whatever. So I could give myself a hard time about that. Or I can just realize that that's all I'm doing right now is because if I don't run back in the house for my bottle of water and I'm in the car for the next 45 minutes, then I'm just going to be thirsty. And then I would be thirsty and I would either stop at a store. I would either be really, really thirsty or I would stop at a store and unnecessarily go buy a bottle of water and then kick myself for spending money that I don't need to because I have water. So I just didn't bring it with me. So anyway, it's a whole cycle of events. So at any given moment, all I'm doing with my time is preparing a better later.
Awesome. Two things I'm thinking. One, I'm listening to the book by Susan Jeffers, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Okay.
And one of the things that she does in there is she gives voice to the voice inside.
Mm-hmm.
If I do it this way, then this will happen. If I do it that way, then this will happen.
Kind of like what I was just doing.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're reminding me of that.
Right.
The other thing that you're reminding me of is the phrase that came to mind for me last night with regards to the summit that I'm doing, that the summit, the main title is Sing Your Heart Song. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking that the tagline, the subtitle is enrich your voice for a brighter tomorrow.
Okay.
But just that similar idea to what you just expressed, that there's
pretty much
the later that whatever you're doing is so tomorrow is better than today or yesterday or but things keep getting better.
In my opinion, today is definitely better than yesterday because there once was a time when I would have been in tears like, a half hour ago into this episode. I would have been like, nothing's going right. I can't get anything right. And this episode, maybe it's just not supposed to happen. And so I know that I've definitely moved ahead.
You're rolling with the punches and just letting things be. Yes.
So anyway.
So we can be intentional about that later.
So homework. What are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are, what is the tomorrow that you're creating today? Mm-hmm. How are you? How can you pause for just a moment? I think these interruptions, these breaks, these distractions even can be really beneficial because they help us to pause and reflect and say, am I going in the direction that I want to be going? Right. Or am I chasing bees mindlessly, or,
right.
or, writing one draft after another and never finishing any of them.
Right.
We can stop the madness of the hamster wheel.
Right.
And complete what it is that we want to be completing. We can bring what we want to bring into the world. Mm-hmm. So the homework is what is that tomorrow that you are creating today? And it doesn't have to be this full-blown detailed blueprint of what that tomorrow is.
Right.
It's just basically getting an idea of what that is, so that you can do just like you described, Yael, where you said that all your actions are in an effort to be in alignment with creating a better, I don't remember exactly how
I said a better later.
A better later.
Yeah, because it's not necessarily tomorrow, because it might just be later in the day.
Sure. But then the future is brighter than the past.
Right.
Or the present.
Right. So when I look back at this very moment, am I going to be glad I did this, or am I going to, for whatever reason, go, oh, I really wish I would have done something else?
Right. So how can we enjoy, and I think that's actually one of the ways to do that is to appreciate the moment that we're in right now.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So we can build upon where we are.
Right.
And one of the ways that I think about that is we can either spin the wheel of abundance in a creative way, or we can spin it in a destructive way.
Right.
And the choice is really ours.
Mm-hmm. Well, when you look back on this moment, and literally the power is in the moment. in this moment, always. Once this moment becomes the past, it's done. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't take back the words you said. You can't undo whatever you did. You can't, whatever, anything that you already did. So once this moment is gone, you can't take back those moments that you just kind of laid there like a vegetable, and you weren't even thinking about anything. You were just literally just in a mindless blah. You can't get back those moments.
Right.
That's my point.
Excellent.
So once that moment is gone, you're done. So what are you going to do with right now?
So I guess perhaps our invitation to you, our audience, is to follow the idea of carpe diem, that seize the day, make today the start of something even better.
How do you say moment in Latin?
I think moment is Latin.
Oh, okay. Carpe de moment? No, that doesn't sound right.
I know I'm pretty sure it comes from, anyway, we won't go down that rabbit trail.
Psych, almost got you there.
I think we've reached the pinnacle of our episode today.
Yeah, I've got the giggles. I'm sorry.
So, all right. Until our stories meet again, be the bright light in someone's dark night. Ta-ta.